Hey family, welcome to my channel, Dwell According to Knowledge, the talk show. I am your host, Tracy K. Lewis, aka Trey. Now, what I really want to do here is I want to talk to you and jump into this immediately. The top 3 reasons that relationships fail, and then I'm going to go right into the top 3 mistakes that we make in relationships. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a corporate hierarchy chart that I kind of picked up, and I'm going to use it because I'm a very visual kind of teacher and educator. So I'm going to use this chart in order to help us to visualize, some of the reasons and some of the mistakes that we make in relationships. Now, there are many reasons why relationships fail, and there are and many mistakes that we were making in relationships. So I'm going to cover what I feel are the top 3 reasons that not only just my relationships, but relationships in general. As I talk to people, do surveys, my workshops, things of that nature that I do. And then the mistakes, the most common mistakes that are made, I believe there are 3 of them. So I'm going to cover them while I go through this lesson. Now, real quick introduction. I'm an author, speaker, and a life coach. I've authored 3 books in the Dwell According to Knowledge series, How to Find and Date Your Mate. All of these are on Amazon. How to Search, Find, and Keep Your Potential Spouse. And How to Get Your Groove Back After Divorce. I also written a 4th book, which is You Are Not Your Past, 5 Keys to Overcoming the Wreckage of Your Past. It's my actual personal life story, and I use it for like personal development and parenting, because I know I do mentoring also on the side, and I mentor parents, kids, and I kind of coach them, as to why their kids are acting a certain way. And through my own testimony and through my own background, I believe that I was uniquely qualified to mentor kids and coach parents in parenting. But all my books are on Amazon, and you can go and pick them all up, under the various topics. Now, I want to jump right into this by using this chart. I'm going to jump right into first the top 3 real reasons why relationships fail. And a lot of this is through my own experience, and like I said, I do workshops and seminars and those kinds of things, and I find out through talking to a lot of women, mostly through like singles ministries at my church and singles ministries that I've done. Women ask a whole lot of questions about why men do this, why men do that. And I'm going to read something to you off of the back of one of my books, and that's going to hopefully that'll help us get started. Now, Dwell According to Knowledge, How to Find and Date Your Mate answers the questions you may ask yourself when you are getting involved with a potential mate. When relationships fail, men and women have many unanswered questions on their minds. Some to include, why do I keep failing at relationships? What did I do wrong? Why do men act like that? Why do women act like that, man? Why do I keep choosing the wrong person? And how do I find the right person for me? This is just, a few of many. Now, these questions and many more really depend on 2 key factors. Number 1, your relationship with God and your relationship with self. Now, I don't want to push. I want to give my disclaimers on all this. Not every man, not every woman is going to fall into the categories and some of the things that I'm going to speak on here. So I don't want you to get all offended or any of that kind of stuff. But I know when it was told to me, I got offended. But once I got over it, I looked at it and I said, oh my God, it's a lot of it, if not all of it, was correct. Now, men and women come from many different backgrounds, experiences from childhood, which mold them into the people they become as adults, not realizing those experiences keep them from having a healthy and successful relationship. Now, men and women must first know who they are in their relationship with God, and they They are in their relationship with themselves before they can have a healthy and meaningful relationship with another human being or another person. So that's pretty much what I use to kind of cover the topic of what we're getting ready to discuss today. And let's jump right into this, because I'm very excited about this and how we're going to cover a lot of this stuff. And again, try not to get offended about some of the stuff like that. And then for some of you all, what I talk about, it won't apply to you, but I'll be in your neighborhood with something very, very soon with my other videos, or later on as I continue to go through this particular video right now about the real reasons and the mistakes that we make in relationships. Okay? All right, let's jump right into this. Now, to cover the top 3 reasons, and as I talk to many people, because I'm a Christian and I go to church, and I do get an opportunity to speak in singles ministries. And what I found out, a lot of the common stuff that goes on, with relationships, is number one, and again, let's not get too bent out of shape here. And all of this is foundational, okay? So what I found out was the number one reason why most relationships fail is because, and I'm going to use the chart. Now, when you look at this, you'll see the chart, is that number one reason is that we're not ready to get into a relationship to begin with. It's pretty much the CEO of our relationship company. That's pretty much how it is. And again, let's not get offended, because at some point, when someone told me that, my spiritual dad used to tell me, because I was in and out of relationships, and you're going to hear a lot of my personal story and a lot of the stuff that I'm giving to you, because I've gone through it in my own personal story. And one of the first things, because my relationships used to get to a certain spot, and they would just fail. And I couldn't figure, a lot of times I just could not figure out why. And he asked me, Tracy, do you ever think you was really ready to be in a relationship with him? To be in a relationship anyway. And of course, I got mad. But after I got mad and offended, and all of the energy that I put in, who the H do he think he is, asking me a question like that? After all that dissipated, and I really had a chance to sit down and think about that, I found out that a lot of it was true. And what I'm going to reveal as we go through this is some of the areas in my life were keeping me from having a successful relationship. Just like I told Elizabeth, my background, the things and the people that I came in contact with, all that stuff had it impacted all of my relationships, especially when I started getting into them. And as I continued, I wondered why I always got mad at the end. I always, getting mad towards the end. And I always wondered why I would always quit when someone told me that, Tracy, I believe I love you, and I had to find stuff. And it wasn't until I did a couple of little things in order to find that out. And we're going to cover those in a minute also. Now, not being ready in the beginning was pretty much my CEO, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a whole lot of other people's, the CEO also. And what I'm going to say is, not being ready will cover a couple of things, and I'm going to give you just the 2 foundational ones, just like I gave in the back of my book here. Okay, you're not being ready because number one, we don't have a relationship with God and Jesus. Okay, God and Jesus is pretty much is the beginning of the foundation of all relationships. Because if you read the Bible, you read a couple of things about relationships, you'll find out that you come to Jesus, he brings you to God, and you start having a relationship with God. You get to know these two. You get to know them, okay? And the second one that kind of messes us up is that we don't have a relationship with self. Now, this is where I kind of got tripped up right here also. Since I didn't know God and Jesus, there was a lot of areas in here that I really got, because I hadn't touched anything with God. I hadn't done anything in that area with God. So it kind of made me a little bit detached. But what I found out later on was when I developed a relationship with God and his son Jesus, my relationships got better. They got better with me first. And then they got better with the people that were around me. So by the time I got to the part where I didn't have a relationship with myself, and after I got over myself, with that, I found out that I didn't have a relationship with myself, because it was real funny how whenever I go on an interview, the person that interviewed me would always say, tell me about yourself. And how hard it was for me to sit and tell a person about myself. I couldn't tell. I could do the regular stuff. Well, I'm from D.C., and that's where I'm from. And my background is I had a mom and a dad. I'm a military brat, and I was able to do it. But when somebody said, listen, tell me about yourself, and I couldn't tell them that, I got some really good leadership qualities. I'm a self-starter. I'm motivated. And all of these things that make me up. I couldn't tell them any of that kind of stuff. Also, the part that really kind of got me was every time that I went out, I always had to have somebody in the passenger side. So always somebody. I was always going out on a date with someone. I never actually went out on a date by myself. And this took me years to come to the conclusion, especially when he was my spiritual dad, and he told me one day, he said, Tracy, why don't you go out by yourself sometime? And I looked at him like, man, there's something wrong with him. But I don't know why I was so afraid of that. I don't know why I always thought that I needed to be with someone when I went to the movies or when I went out to dinner, when I did stuff like that. I mean, it was real easy for me to get up and go to to the store by myself, or to the park and just sit back and chill out. But like when I'm going out on, when it came time to go watch a movie, or it came time to go out to dinner, or it came time to do something like really, really big, or a party or something like that, man, I always had to have somebody in the passenger side. So I didn't have a relationship with myself, and those were some of the reasons why. But once, when I did this, and I'll get to it in a few other of my videos, and I'm going to show you how I can help you with this. An assessment really gave me a what's called a reference point to a lot of the stuff that was going on in my life. So I was never ready. I didn't have a relationship with God and Jesus, and I didn't have a relationship with self. What I call here, in between with all of this is what I call foundational relationship. And I spelled that wrong, but take that out. This is the foundation of all the relationships, okay? Now, once you get all of this and you practice having a relationship with God and Jesus, and then having a relationship with yourself, then you're able to go into a relationship with another human being, and you'll be able to do what I call, turn it into a healthy, relationship like that. That way you can have some success. Okay? Now, let's jump into the 3 mistakes that we make, because a lot of times in a lot of areas I had to find out how, one of the reasons why I was making a lot of relationship mistakes, of course, was, first of all, one, being ready and having those 2 relationships, was as I continued after saying, hey, how are you, I'm attracted to you, and let's go from here. Because I remember back in the day how we used to do it, and now how relationships are so detached now. We don't have a whole lot of connection in relationships now. So everything's, the online dating and, these dating apps and, these cell phone stuff. And, we're more and more detached from relationships, as today is progressing. And I'm an old school kind of guy. I progress in some of the things that are happening today with the cell phones and all the other stuff. And I learned that stuff and try to get in it. That's only so that I won't get left behind. But for some things, in some relationships, they still need to be old school, so to speak, old fashioned, that kind of stuff. So when you're talking to people, you're going, oh, yeah, and it ain't always all I really don't get into a whole lot of that stuff. I do, but then again, I don't get into it. If a text is going to last more than 3, then I might as well get on telephone, and that's how I feel about that. Now let's get to, the top 3 mistakes that we usually make in the ones that I feel, because if these 3 aren't covered, then you're pretty much going to, you're pretty much going to make it all. And in there are three areas that we make these mistakes in. And I'm going to just say at some point, the 3 areas are time, questions, and sex. Now, time, questions, and sex. Now, this was one of the things that really kind of got me, and that's why it's done first. When you're carrying on in a relationship, in the beginning, and I'm gonna use, because I love metaphors and I love visuals kind of stuff, and I like that. But today's relationships are pretty much like I'm like a microwave. And we throw that relationship in there and we put that thing on a timer, and 3 minutes later, boom, everything is done. But I implore, and I like to use what I call the oven effect, or what I call the slow cooker, the crock pot kind of thing. You take everything in your relationship and you put it in a crock pot, or you put it in a slow cooker or an oven, because those things are designed to take time to cook your food. So when you're in a relationship, we normally, is what I believe, and what I'm understanding about it, is that with time, we're not spending enough. We're not spending enough time to get to know someone. And it's like we gotta rush. It's like we have to rush through a whole bunch of stuff, trying to get to the nitty gritty. Of course, which is what I call the P. For men, it's the P, and of course, for the women, it's the D. So I had to, when I ran across this, and just like we used to do back in the day, and just like it is nowadays, but for nowadays, it's much faster. Wanting to get in a relationship and get to a certain point without having to go through a lot of the stuff. And like for women that are dealing with men, and this is what I want to come across to you, ladies, is that a lot of times you have more power than you think. But I want you to tap into that, and I'm going to give you a lot of things about men, and but this ain't a man bashing thing, but I'm going to give you some insight about men. And of course I'm going to give you some insight about yourselves too, so that you'll understand that sometimes the mistakes that you make, is pretty much what a lot of downfalls about your relationships. Okay, so with time, we're not spending enough to get to know someone. Now, questions. Woo! This is a huge piece to anything, because in order to get to know someone, you got to ask questions. A lot of times, what we don't do is we ask some questions, but most of the questions that we ask are pretty much on the surface. So what we have to do is we have to dig, and we have to, when you get in a relationship, think of it as buried treasure, and you have to grab a shovel and dig. So for questions, we're not asking enough and pertinent, and we're not asking enough and pertinent questions. And oh boy, this is what trips us up in a lot of areas about that, because a lot of times we looking at each other and we just kind of going by the stuff that's on the surface. And for ladies, it could be what he's wearing, what he's saying out of his mouth, how he dressing, what he pulls out of his pocket, how much he pulls out of his pocket, what he driving, where he living, those kinds of things, which are just on the surface things. And yes, we're attracted by the physical part of it first, because I know some ladies like they do 6'2", muscled up, and that kind of stuff. And then I know some ladies who like average sized guys, and then I know guys who like we all like what we like, but it's all physical in the beginning. What we have to do is we have to get past the physical long enough. That's why we have to spend enough time, because the inflated part of the physical piece is, okay, yeah, you got me. But what's underneath? What's underneath that stuff? And that's where questions come into focus when we're dealing with each other, in relationships. So that once we get here, once we get into this part, we're taking time, and we're making sure that what we're asking goes a lot deeper than what we're talking about on the surface. You know what I mean? All right, now Lord, last and certainly not least is sex. And of course that is self-explanatory, because we throw everything in the microwave. We wound up having sex way too quick. Look, I'm gonna put this in the guise of the animal kingdom. When you have when a cheetah is watching a gazelle, and for it's man watching a woman, and he sees her, he likes her, boom, he's getting ready to pounce. So the thing is run, chase her down, catch her, and boom, and start the process of killing it. You know what I mean? And I don't want you to take the word killing it wrong, but we know what killing it means. It means get the P. Okay? So we start the process. So of course there's a what's called the choking process. Like what you see them doing. They grab that neck, and then they start taking the life out of the cheetah. But I liken that to what we do is we sit you down, with in a mind kind of thing, and then start the process of getting to devour, so to speak, which means for us, having sex, okay? And for some reason, with not taking times and questions, and asking the right questions and digging deeper, we only get to know what's on the surface, and we never really get a chance to go into. I say, hey, what happened in your childhood? Hey, what happened in your adolescence? Hey, have you suffered anything? Are you doing? What are you doing right now to get over some things? And that kind of stuff. I heard Creflo Dollar one day say, before you marry anybody, you should ask at least 2,000 questions. Well, he was like, thousands of questions you got to ask, and that's true. You have to ask a bunch of questions, in order to get there, and stay away from sex long enough to have that, to have enough that you can go and do that. Now, this is not a 90-day program. This is not give sex up on day 91. This is not that. And I'm going to just go ahead and give you my other disclaimer, and I'm going to just go ahead and say it. This is not a process of having sex, real fast. I'm going to just say, stay away from sex until marriage. Now, I said it, okay? That way that covers me with God. But for us other folks that, that are just regular people, stay away from this long enough before, so that you can, make good decisions, Now, when you're going through this process of that, I'm going to give you something that comes out of the Bible, and it talks about wisdom is the principal thing. So with all that, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get some understanding. So what I'm going to do is, in order to cover these three areas, we have to understand what this is. The first remedy. This is one remedy to start. Okay? One remedy to start having a successful relationship. One to start is, of course, you start with getting ready, and then let's get ready. Get a relationship. Get God and Jesus. Get God and Jesus, and then get yourself. I'm gonna just put it that way. Okay, this is the CEO of how we get started. Okay, now when I talk about the other stuff, in order to, once you get all of this, what we have to do is we have to get, and with all of that, this is what we do. We get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this up a little bit, because a lot of times we mess that up because we don't put everything in the right perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it up for a minute and give it to you like this. We have to first get knowledge. That's first. And what that involves is taking enough time, asking the right personal and pertinent questions, in order to gain knowledge of that person. Okay? Second thing we need to do is, with this knowledge, the second thing that comes with that is then we have understanding. That's the second thing that comes with what we do when we're running through the process to, getting ready to get into another relationship. And by the way, I'm going to also say this: what you're doing from one relationship to the next, you take a look at that as well. So when we're going from one relationship to the next, we're okay, and let's try not to focus on what he did, what she did. Let's focus on what we did, because that's the other thing my spiritual dad always told me to do. Tracy, I don't want to hear nothing about what she did. I already know what she did through the many times that you call me complaining and arguing and stuff like that. So let's find out what it is that you did. So I had to sit down and write some things about, hey, what did I do? How did I react to certain things? Did I cause anything? Was there anything about me at the time that I didn't cover? Because I'm going to give you the story like this. Sometimes during the course of a week, if whatever comes up I haven't resolved, like say for something happens to me at my job that pisses me off. If I haven't resolved that, the next day something happens that my girlfriend or my wife did. If I haven't resolved that, I take I take the first one into Tuesday, and then I take Tuesday into Wednesday, and all of this stuff I grab. If I haven't resolved it, I take it into Wednesday. Now something else comes up, people in the street, some of my friends, somebody cut me off on the road. I take all of that on, and got that new stuff on Wednesday, and I take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and bring it into Thursday. The next thing I know, if I haven't resolved none of that stuff, if something happens to me on Thursday, I bring it all into Friday. And then the next daggone thing I know, the wife, the girlfriend can come back to me, or my sister or brother or something like that could say something, and by the time I get to Friday, and I ain't resolved none of that stuff all the whole time. When the girlfriend comes to me, the wife runs to me, boy, next thing I know, I'm blowing up because I done brought everything down to there and haven't resolved anything in the back. So the correct thing to do is resolve what's on Monday, resolve what's on Tuesday, all the way down the line, so that by the time I get up on Friday, Saturday, I resolved everything, and I'm not handing a person, well, actually Sunday through the rest of the week, and I've grabbed all of that stuff and I blow up on that person, usually a spouse, usually the girlfriend, usually the person I'm in a relationship with. I throw all of that stuff up on them, and they going, what in the, they going, what the hey, So that's why, that's just another tip as well when you're dealing in relationships. What went on during the week? What went on yesterday? Because a lot of times I wasn't really mad at what the person, what my spouse or what my, my girlfriend or something like that said that day. I'm mad because of everything that happened from Sunday all the way down to Friday, Saturday. You understand? So that's where understanding will come into play with that. And once you get knowledge and once you get some understanding, then you will be able to use wisdom. You will be able to use some wisdom with that person. I remember I was at a church. I had started going to this one church. The very first time I went in there, this is what he talked about. He talked about understanding, and the only way to get it is through knowledge. And then you can deal with a person more through wisdom, because you know them now, and then you understand them. And that way you'll be able to say, hey, okay, I know what that person is going through because I took time, I asked the right questions. You understand? And then I understand, some of the stuff that in their background was sometimes you can bring it forth, and some things trigger a lot of stuff that happens like in your background, or even in the forefront of your life. Like, I mean, who, no one wishes for, domestic violence. No one wishes for, abuse in any kind of way, or any of that stuff. But as they go through a process and they're in a relationship like that, these are the kinds of things that happen. So by the time if they get to the next relationship, if they haven't resolved that, then you're gonna have some things. You're gonna have some things to deal with, and that's if they reveal that to you. But if you don't ask the right questions, you'll never know, and then you'll wonder why they gun shy, so to speak. Um, PTSD, that kind of relational PTSD or something like that, or relational gun shy, or gunshot stuff like that. So we have to understand, what we're going through as we, going through the process. And in order to get to these three things right here, you understand, we have to spend time. We have to ask pertinent and the right questions, and we have to stay away from sex long enough, because sex only messes the whole thing up. And I want to help you to understand that in a lot of these nuances in relationships, the foundation is what we definitely need to work on first. So let's not think of our downtime in between relationships as a time to be sitting back and going, why guys this, why girls that, and all that stuff. It's, what did I do so that I don't bring it into the next relationship and it fail? And then how far do I have to go back, in order to do that? In each of my Dwell According to Knowledge books, there are tons of questions in there. So I would implore you to get the book, because it'll give you a start on questions that you can ask, not just the person that walks up on you, tap you on the shoulder. It's about how to find out about self. You want to do a self-assessment in between every relationship, so that you can find out not what they did, but pretty much what you did. And sometimes it's how I reacted to something that makes my relationships fail. That kind of stuff. So we need to understand those things. That way we can have a successful and healthy relationship. Because see, once we get healthy, then that carries into the other relationship. And the other part about that is, what are we doing? What I'm gonna say it just like this. I wrote that down somewhere. What kind of bait you're using to attract the type of fish that you're trying to catch, and then what are you doing to prepare yourself, for the next person that's coming in. For ladies, this ain't about you going out there looking at stuff like that, because the Bible tells us to. It says, "He who findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and retain, get some favor from him." It don't say a woman go out and tap the guy on the shoulder. Now, I don't mind, it's okay, like if you're going and you see somebody that you like, but it's the pursuit that I'm talking about. Your job is not to pursue men. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us, we like the attention. Oh God, we love it. But at the same time, be very, very careful, because no matter what happens in any relationship, the P is always the P is always the ultimate goal. And I don't care what you say, sex is always a part of all relationships, because we would never get into anything without any of that. We wouldn't. I mean, God made us all relational, period. A lot of us just flip that thing around, and we think that the relational part has to do with sex, but it's not. It's about purpose. It's really about purpose. I will also tell you this, that any woman can make a great man. And some of my tweets, my first tweet on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my Twitter page, is the first quote is the old quote: "Behind every great man is a good woman." Well, that's not true. It's the second quote that I came up with, and it's "Beside every great man is an even greater woman." Now, you have to make yourself greater in order to make a great man. And if you're not doing any of that, then at some point your relationship is going to fail. And then if you're not ready for your relationship, then it's going to fail also. Now, in my books, my Dwell According to Knowledge series, books are designed to help you get ready. Now, later on in my in my relationship coaching, my personal development, and my self improvement coaching, life coaching things, I go through 7 areas of your life, and like I said, these are the things that we need to get come to in order to get ready. All right. Thank you for kind of going through all of this stuff with me today. I very much appreciate it. I'm excited for a lot of you guys that will, take a look at the video. If you like the video, of course, subscribe, to the channel so you can get more, videos and personal things. I will add links and whatever else need to go to my books. You can get, go ahead and get the books. My website, TracyKLewis@yahoo.com, is open and it's up. And, follow me on Instagram, follow me on my Facebook page. My group page is Dwell According to Knowledge. And then you can also follow me on Twitter. I appreciate, and I hope you all got something out of this. And I very much appreciate it. Now, I don't ever want to end a video without inviting those who don't have God and Jesus and God in their life to get Jesus and God in your life so that you can have a foundational relationship. So what I'll just say is, in any of these things, get a relationship with God, get a relationship with yourself, so that you can get ready to have a relationship with someone else. So if you want, and if you, it's all up to you. I'm like Joel Osteen. Just say this little teeny prayer after me. Lord Jesus, I believe that you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. I believe you died for me. I believe you was raised from the dead for me. I repent of all of my sins and ask you to come into my life right now as I make you my Lord and Savior. Now, God, thank you for what you've done by sending your Son to die. I am saved now. It is in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, once you say that prayer, you are saved now. It is time for you to, get busy so that you can have a wonderful and successful relationship, one with Jesus and God, first of all, and then get one with yourself. So find a Bible, the easiest one to read. The Amplified one is an easier one to read for beginners because it gives you some of the. It doesn't have you running back and forth to the to the dictionary like I did when I read the first one of mine, and now I don't even need to run back and forth to it now because I've been reading for so long. And when churches, I guess, open back up, or you can find Bible-based church with a person teaching the word, then by all means get busy, doing that. I'm looking forward to the next videos, and I appreciate every last one of you who looked at this and ready to go to work. It's not about what you're doing after you get into a relationship. It's about what you do before getting into one. Okay? May God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.